do you want to play it?
You go ahead and do it.
Awesome. Milanistis of the world. Hey, how's it going? It's your hosts, Husney and Shane. A very sick Shane with probably what is COVID. And it's a Shane who needs a lot more sleep and a lot less stress in his life. But yes, Shane from Nairobi, Kenya. So it's good to see you guys. We're just coming at you with some of the latest Milan news, just to recap, talk about it, figure out what's going on with the greatest team in the world.
Oh, you froze there, Shane. I think Shane's connection went down a little bit. But yeah, it's good to speak to you guys again. It's been about a week since our last podcast. Thank you guys for those who are watching, liking, subscribing our videos. It's been great help to us, and especially for those who watched our shorts. So that was from my time in Dubai, which I'll speak about a bit about later. What we do have a show for you guys here today, especially with what's been going on in the past few weeks, with regard to this winter camp that's been taking place in Dubai, as well as a little bit of transfer news, if you can call it that, and what's situation of our team. I think we got Shane back. Let's see. Yep.
Oh
Shane, you're
man,
back.
great! It's great! It's great! It's literally just the
Can
karma
you hear
of.
me?
Yeah, I can
Oh, your
hear you,
sound,
man.
Shane. Sorry.
Ah,
Okay, now you're good. You're good. You're good.
I'm good. I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm so sorry. I think it's. I was quite a good boy this year, but I don't know. I think the universe is just really bad plans for me this year. I don't for the remainder of this year, so I think I'm better off just staying inside till 2023, man.
Only
Anyway,
two more
sorry
days
about
to
that.
go.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, so I was telling
Uh,
our listeners and viewers about, what we're going to speak about a little bit about today, the training camp in Dubai, as well as the state of our team. Are we then ready for 2023 as the new challenge? Especially we're going after the second star. So Shane, give us some general thoughts. Where do you think the team's at right now?
um, so I think the Dubai games didn't really tell us, uh, or told us, or what we already knew. I mean, in the context of, especially when you looked at, was it the Liverpool game especially? So where I mean, we're playing a lot of guys that didn't even start for us, and we were muscled off the ball and just kicked around the pitch. But everyone knew that if we didn't start with a lot of our established players, this was going to happen, right? There's no secret there. Um, Interesting takeaway from that game though, for me. Tatarusanu, I like. I mean, he could just finish up now. Really, get a pat in the back and just leave. I think Morante has shown that he's a bit more capable, both in the penalty shootout and during the game. He seemed a bit more mobile and a bit more active. Other thoughts on that game? I think Adley played well.
Again,
So
another pre-season, if you can call it that, of good performances by Adley.
that's it, man. That's it. Well, like, what do you? So, what? Hosni, what are you thinking about? So are you thinking? Okay, so my feeling with Adley was not that people were running out of patience with him. I think they were more running out of patience with Pioli and the coaching staff for not giving him additional time on the pitch, right? Do you think that the time that Adley has been given has maybe shown Pioli and the management enough that they can, actually chance starting him in a couple of league games and see how it goes? What do you think?
Yeah, so if he didn't play well, then you could say that this is a cause for concern and he should be loaned out to get some solid game time. But this is the second, you could say, friendlies in a row where Adley's really impressed. And if you look back all the way, and we spoke a little bit about that in the Lumezana. Sorry if I keep butchering the name. I don't know. I'm terrible with
Forever known as
names.
Lemonade now,
Yeah,
hasn't he?
the lemon team, the lemon squad, he saved us until the subs came on, which was the Primavera team that really won to prove a point and put up a good performance. It's been Adley at the very beginning, so he's done right by me, and he should be rewarded in the coming next few games. I made a point, especially to the other guys in the chat, that we're playing Salernitana. Why should we have our best 11 just to be able to beat Salernitana? So, granted that they're not the relegation threatened Salernitana of last season, they're, in my opinion, a better team going into this game. And especially with their, you could say, star goalkeeper, Ochoa, from the Mexican national team, fresh off the World Cup. So it's a better Salernitana. But then again, we are AC Milan. We're defending champions. Why do we need Giroud? Why do we need Theo for that game? They should be an opportunity to rest them. Ali should be start, and I've said it before. I think it should be the starting lineup, especially up front. And this should be tested against PSV, which we'll speak a little bit about later. We should have CDK up front if Origi is not performing well. Liao will be back. We'll have CDK as a striker, as I mentioned. Adley as a cam, and right wing Salad, man, the Cellmakers. Yeah, he scored a goal. I think he's coming back over injury much stronger than how he left the team. And
You're just
this might
saying
be,
Salad now because he's your best buddy.
yeah. Ever since I took that
That's
photo with
all
him,
that is. We'll talk about
I'll,
this
I'll be
later,
I'll
but
be sure to show everyone that photo.
that's it. You just got matching tattoos.
I wish I could get the matching haircut, but yeah, the color is a bit
That's
different.
it. That's it. Oh man, yeah, but yeah, no, I agree with what you say though, especially about the PSV or PSV, right? I guess if you're in the Netherlands, but I think that game is probably going to be a bit more telling because I'd be relatively sure that Pioli's going to put out a good starting 11 for that, just to get the guys prepped for for the for the restart of the second half of the season. So that's going to be very telling. Um, yeah, I think just for me though, what's I think a big takeaway though from those set of games, it it seems to be that like we're so over reliant now on Giroud and Leao. Like we're completely over reliant on him. I mean, we're in a situation where even on a friendly, you know, it's like even as good as Benacer could be or as Tonali can be, it's like we don't really have much going on up that side of the pitch. I'm I hate saying it because I still tried being positive towards Rebic, but I'm kind of siding with you now about I we're just not seeing anything from this guy. I mean, if we can flip him for like 20 million or whatever, I mean, at this point, you know, I think he's got to go.
Yeah, so in the case of Rebic, he's done for me as a player. So for those who have watched games in person before, you'll be able to see a lot more than what you see on the television. The reason being is that the TV, they focus on certain moments and certain angles of play, usually where the ball is. But if you're there in person, you'll be able to see the players where they are out of possession. So especially in the ball threatening our goal, you'll be able to see what the attacker's up to. Rebic doesn't look interested at all. As a player, I think he's done. Maybe the fact that he's won the Scudetto. I don't know if that's his biggest trophy. Maybe it is with the team, with any team in his career. But he's not shown anything, and we can't be making excuses for players. This is the one thing that really gets me when it comes to fans and how they see the team. I don't make excuses for any players. It's a competition. Everyone has to try their best. There are other players and other people that are willing to take their place, and they are in the same squad. So why should we be lenient? Rebic, no doubt, he's been important for us. If you talk about the Renaissance under Pioli, Maldini, that, and Basara, and everyone else in that management hierarchy, so he's done his part. Yeah, he's done his part. He scored the goals. He's kept us in games before. He's won games for us. But the time has come. The players aren't going to be the set that consistent forever. And in the case of Rebic, he's had serious injuries. He keeps having them. Liao is now above in the hierarchy. I think he's done. We have to look ahead. Rebic not the guy. But Shayna, if we say that about Rebic, I mean, where does that really leave us in terms of the squad depth? Because he's supposed to be the guy that covers our left wing, and if he's not performing, and Liao, God forbid, he goes down for whatever reason, and we know that second half of the season, players might be looking for blood because uh, it's going to be a tough race, especially if we want to be Scudetto winners or even the top four. So, what do you think about our depth? Is it really getting worse, and how are we coming out of this winter camp?
So it's going to be a very interesting thing to see because on one hand, you're in a difficult situation with Redbird, right? Because let's be honest here, they don't give a toss about Milan. All they see is dollar signs, right, and how they can extract it from Milan. So that's not being harsh on them, but look, they're there for it's a business, right? But even though it's a business, right, you have to spend money to make money, right? Um, so what I'm interested to see though with Redbird is how much do they trim down the squad? Because let's be honest, right? I was looking at some of the stats compared to even some of the bigger teams in Italy, right? And we have a relatively large squad in terms of the amount of starters that we have. The problem is the depth isn't there, right? But because we have such a large squad, then surely that must mean that there can be a couple of areas that can be trimmed down, right? Especially if we're going to go bare bone, you know, because if we can't really afford to buy anyone, then that's potentially because we have 31 players of which maybe 25 can feasibly start, depending on what position, obviously. But so I mean, there is an argument to be made. Uh, if Leao gets his contract, you know, do you chance Leao not getting injured? Do you sell Rebic? Maybe get 20 million, whatever you get for him. Try and invest that in the right wing. See how it goes. Chance putting Hernandez up at the left wing role because I mean he did okay. I know it wasn't a left wing essentially; it was more kind of a left wing back slash left midfielder for France during the World Cup, but he did quite well. You know, obviously then that means you have to bring in Ballatore, which in itself can be a disaster. But there is a couple of things that they could try, but like the closer that we go without us picking up points, right? It essentially up to a point. If we don't start allocating results or alloc- receiving 3 points, more often, right? The season's going to be a write-off unless we do something miraculous in the Champions League anyway. So if the season's going to be a write-off, and let's just say you have Benacer and you have Leao signed up, and you're confident that they're staying, and let's say that those deals get done by this before, let's say, early January, right, or the start of January, then you can kind of focus on the transfer market, and you could maybe even say to Leao, look, we've given you a huge contract, and I'm sorry to tell you this, but you will probably be playing every game from now until June.
I don't think he'll
But
complain.
exactly, but enjoy your huge contracts, right? So, I mean, but of course, then we have to hope to God that he doesn't get injured, and just try and get lucky. But I mean, let's say we do manage that, and Rebic gets sold. If that frees up 15, 20 million, we can get a right winger with that, and you know, just hope that everyone stays fit until the end of the year, and then we can get some proper replacements. Speaking about, I know this is a thing that's going to be kind of done to death here, right? But like, what do you think of my idea? So let's say if we did think of selling Rebic, right? Let's say an offer comes in. Let's let's say a team from the German league comes and buys him. All right, they say, look, we're going to give you 15 million for Rebic. Do you take it with the understanding that you're probably, with you, like, let's say Leao signs and an offer comes in for Rebic? Do you take it, Husney, assuming that they then invest that 20 million or 15 million on the right wing?
Yes, I would. The reason being is that 15 million is, especially to a club like us, seems it might as well be 150 million because we barely made a sale. If we can even call the loan with option for Hauge that. So it's money, and we probably could use it. For me, it's there's two criteria. Yeah, when it comes for incoming players, one is of course their skill, their ability. I'm not looking into potential anymore because I just don't like the use of that word because that just means that we're waiting for players to become good. I don't want to be that club anymore. I know that we were for a while. But the second one is availability. Yeah, how injury prone are they? Are they able to start right away? So it seems to be this recurrent theme within the club that our signings they either come off a serious injury or they just not fit from day one. uh, I understand that we cannot expect any new player to have an immediate chemistry because they've never played with our system and our players before. But what I see other teams is that, and this is a big difference. Other teams they do go for players that maybe are a bit more versatile, that are able to start right away and jump right into the team. You could argue CDK is a bit that because I think he started quite soon. I think he started maybe the second game, if I'm not mistaken, second or third game. So
Yeah, I
that
think so. It was
yeah,
relatively soon. Yeah.
as compared to Adley, who I think what is almost towards the end of of this year that he started the game. Who was it against? Cameronese, whichever team that it was. Was it Torino?
Was,
My
and
bad.
that's it. And he played like nearly every game in preseason and played
Yeah.
quite well. That's the weird thing. And if I recall, CDK, and I think this is probably due to the way that the transfer unfolded, but CDK didn't feature much in the preseason games,
No,
or
not at all. He joined on maybe on the last day, even close to
that was,
the
yeah, that was it. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
Mm.
is these players that are able to join and start right away? No matter they don't have to be world class because let's face it, we can't afford any world class players with the budget that we're looking at. But they should be able to at least start a few minutes here and there. So that's just a problem that we should resolve. I don't know in terms of strategy how they balance out between skill, ability, and availability that they're able to play the games. But there needs to be more focus that we need players that are fit, able to hit the ground running because the team needs it. Yeah, we can't be, as you mentioned, Shane, we can't be playing the same players over and over again. And there are another 19 teams in the league, especially the lower ranked teams. I don't see why we would need our star players to play against the lower sides. If we take the friendlies, for example, and I'm not equating a competitive game to a friendly, but you got to give it to some of the other teams that they're willing to take a chance on the younger players, give them exposure, give them game time, and in the long run, it helps them because it builds these players, it builds their ability, and you'll be able to judge them a lot better. For us, I I I, you could say that that was the biggest source of me being purely out last season, and I won't be afraid to admit it. That no matter how good of a man manager he is, or how close he is to the players, I don't think that he's really the right person to bring 11 young players to a level that you could say is competing in the Champions League uh, consistently. But yeah, Shane, you may disagree with me, but this is how I feel.
I think. Well, I think. I suppose the way I'd look at Pioli is, I mean, I'm going to focus more on his tactics and his football, right? Um, for me, I know there's a lot of critics when it comes to the way that Milan play, but they play quite a good pressing game. I mean, and it is. Some people disagree, but it's nothing unique, or I mean, it's gay or Gegen press, right? But it's essentially that. But like, it's functional, it works well, and games can be quite exciting when you watch it. So when I look at that, and then I look at the likes of Antonio Conte, which, look, he's known for being able to motivate his players and get the best out of his players, but then the football is just atrocious to watch. So it's kind of right. How are we really progressing here if we got someone like Conte? You know. So I mean, but look, would have to be foolish if it was a situation where we were, we can't go another 2 seasons without seeing steady progress in the Champions League. And I don't mean winning it this year and then winning it next year and winning it in 3 years' time. I
If
just
we
mean,
did, wow,
oh
break out the
well, like
champagne.
it's you know, like no, like just but like I mean progress in the frame of, or in the context of, okay, well, so this year maybe we make it to the quarters, maybe next year we make it to the semis, maybe in the year after we still make it to the semis again. Even that in itself is progress, right? Because you're getting to a very late stage in a competition where it's very highly competitive, right? So if we seen that from Pioli, I'd be like, there's no way we can sack this man, especially with what he hasn't been given. Because let's be honest, I think if he had a better transfer budget going into that club, there wouldn't be a gap between us and Napoli right now. You know,
Yeah, but I mean, in defense of Pioli, he's in what I see as a coach. So the ones that are deciding the signings primarily, I don't think it's him. Of course, that they are looking for his input, but it's primarily driven by Moncada's recommendations to a filtering process by Maldini and Massara, and of course, ultimately approved by uh, the CEO. This is how I see it. But it's they must see something in the player to tell Pioli that, and to a certain extent, Pioli must agree that yes, I can use this kid within my team. But with the signings that we've brought in, I mean, has it been a gamble most of the times? I think yes. And other than, you could say, a very unique example of a success in the form of Kalulu. Other than that, we've actually had more misses than hits. We look at Balotore, again, not a player that we can confidently start, especially against the teams that we need to, get the points on the scoreboard as uh, in concrete. Uh, Ranks along with option, again, another kid. I just don't know how these signings translate into starters. I know you got to build them, and you can't expect everyone to show up and being a miracle on day one. But there's just no path that I can see about how these players start, get into the club, bench, game here and there, then they develop into a regular starter. Maybe the closest I could say that happened was Tonali, actually, because he started last season, sorry, 2 seasons ago on the bench quite a bit, featured for the in those games, didn't do particularly well, but last season he exploded. Is everyone Tonali? I like to hope so, but we know that Tonali is just a different breed. His kid's quality. He's always had it in him. But anyways, we'll have to hope for the best. So, Shane, move on to how particular topics that we have lined up for our audience today. We got some
mm.
photos as usual. Don't worry, it's safe for kids.
That's it.
So let's speak about this piece of news. I know Shane, you have your opinion. I'll let you go first about Rafael
Yep.
Leao and how his renewal situation is going.
Yeah. So this is pretty much how to. So this is 101 how to make my company being Milan, pay me more. It's the same process of uh, so the way that you get a salary increase at your job is you never just ask for a salary increase. What you do is you go on LinkedIn Premium, you sign up for a free trial, and you set yourself as looking for a job.
You know, they have the caption or open to work and all that with the hashtag.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
what I'm
because
doing.
no, and it works because I'll tell you why it works. And because I've done it a couple of times and it's always worked. Especially in the more senior I got, it always works. It works for the bigger companies. Don't do it to the smaller companies. That you know, if it's a small operation, but if you're working for a multinational, do that. And the reason why you do it is because their HR are looking basically at all of their employees and what they get up to on social media.
Well, I think the companies that you'll be working for have quite a proactive HR. The HR that
That's it.
of the companies that I've been working for, they really couldn't care less what what you're up to, unless you
That's it.
broke the rules.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But it's the same thing what he's doing. He's literally just going out and kind of baiting, you know. That's all it is. Tomorrow it could be Manchester United, right? The day after Bayern Munich, the day after PSG, you know. I mean, look, I can't blame him either because to be honest, if I had a fine this big and I know I'm as good as I am, I'd be doing the same thing. So I'm hoping that's all it is, and I'm hoping Milan put up the big bucks because he is worth it. If they don't, then you know I can understand both points. I can understand why Leao wants to move, and I can understand why Milan feel that it could no longer afford him. Both are fine. Sell him in this window. Try and hope I assume we have someone lined up. I mean, because obviously Moncada and everyone else have had time to probably prepare, so guaranteed they probably have a book of replacements ready, and you might be able to afford a right winger as well. So yeah. That being said, though, what do you think about this kind of behavior? I don't like the behavior, but I understand it. But what do you think about it?
Fully agree with you. So Liao is definitely putting himself in the shop window, and yeah, for the reasons that you've mentioned quite clearly, no one wants to pay a fine of that amount by himself, and he doesn't have to. By the way, yeah, Liao as played to a level whereby he does not have to pay that fine. Yeah, just to be clear to everyone else watching and listening, he's that sort of player, and credit to him. He's done his job. He's won us the Scudetto. So why shouldn't he be asking for the big bucks? He's not been a childhood Milan fan. And let's be real about it. A lot of players they claim to be childhood Milan fans and all that, but we don't need those guys. They can be in the stands, paying their tickets and watching the games. We need players who can perform to a high level and score goals and provide
But
assists
you
to the others.
see, Hosni, a childhood Milan fan nowadays equates to I played as Milan on FIFA 2004, and they were great. So I was a childhood Milan fan. That's what it translates to these days.
Yeah, well, I'll take those fans over some of the players that we have and how they treat the club. But yeah, you're right. In the eyes of I'd say most of people, yeah, let's face it, Leah has not really done anything wrong. Yeah? He's still in discussions. He's not been out slating the club. He's been very professional about his behavior. If you were to compare him to the Liao of maybe the first or second season, this is a completely different player. And but it's come to the point whereby he wants to be rewarded, and we know that for young players, they want to go to make their money. They want to do their own things. They have their own ambitions. Fair enough. He's also, and I've said this before about other players. I won't mention Mr. 99, Mr. GD 99. uh, I don't think the decision is solely in their hands. I mean, you could say that yes, he is the one who appoints the agents, but look at the structure behind these players. They got their parents, they got their entourage behind them, and how they make their decisions. So that's probably having an effect. What does get me, a little bit irritated is how we, as a club, go about this, because you know what the player does, you know what they're all about. This is a standard game that players play, but why is it that we leave it until this time to to pull the trigger? The rumor is that we are now ready to offer them the 7 million net. Where was this 7 million net in the middle of last season? Because now is that as the time goes by, the ball is more in his favor, because he can it can come to a point whereby maybe the someone saying that I don't want to talk about a new deal anymore. I'll leave for free. I'll collect the big sign-on bonus. I'll settle the my part of the 20 million fine. I'll still get more than 7 million net, and the club loses. So where is the initiative from the club? Where is the pressure from the club? Because a kid like Liao, a talent like Liao, he can it works for you both ways. He can be on your team and on the field, scoring goals, creating those assists, or he can give you 120 million, 130, 140 million in terms of transfer fee. He can do both. But them letting doing nothing, or I don't know, playing these sort of games with the agents or with the lawyers, whoever the hell it is gonna lead to a bad outcome, which is him leaving off free. And you might say I'm a bit negative or pessimistic about it, but we have so many examples where it's happened. I don't want to speak about our dear friend who left to our snake cousins on the other side of the fence. But if the news reports are believed to be true, it was a difference of like 500,000. Is this the level that we're at, where over 500,000, maybe like a million? You could argue 1.5 to 2 million off, that we're willing to lose a player like this. I think that's the one thing that we have to be really careful of. But time will tell, and we'll give it some patience to see if the management have learned. Maybe they have,
One
maybe
thing
they
I'd be
haven't.
really concerned about, and this is just as speaking from a fan's perspective, right? Let's say, right, he goes to Chelsea, right, and let's just say, right, in a hypothetical universe, right, Milan play Chelsea next year in the Champions League at some stage. Can you imagine Leao against Calabria?
Not even
Like,
collaborate. Can you imagine if we use that money to get a desk or something? Like, can you imagine how against desk? We will be so dead.
like you're just kind of hoping everyone comes down with with COVID and they have to forfeit the game, you know? Because even if they forfeit, it's only like 3-0. Because you're still probably saving on goal difference at that stage anyway. Because it'd probably be much worse, you know.
Yeah, but it's not just about the goal difference, the embarrassment, and the 90 minutes that we have to go through of a fan, those painful
We
minutes.
get absolutely battered. Like he's just destroyed, man. Oh,
No, but this is the thing. He has value, and we've made exceptions before, because do you remember? And this is back when we were really skimping on money. That we brought in Zlatan on 7 million net, a player that was at the time, what was he, 39? We brought a 39-year-old at seven
yep,
million net, and now
yep.
we are don't know, struggling or hesitant to pay 22-year-old 7
And
million
we've
net.
decreased Zlatan's salary. Keep in mind,
Yeah,
I think he's only on 1 million now only, but
because
he's only
he's
he's
not playing
only
the entire season. We just pay him
no,
for like
no, but fair
appearances or
dues. But
marketing.
I understand. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is because it's like we're probably paying out far less. Well, no, because you have Origi and probably Dest. But yeah, I'd like to look at the wages for this year versus the wages for last year.
It's on the increase because
Hmm.
everyone's gotten a better deal. Tomori
Oh,
got a
I
better
suppose,
deal.
yeah, yeah,
Theo's got
that's
a better
true.
deal.
That's true.
All right, so
Oh yeah,
who do we
keep
have
it
here?
going, Leo. Keep poking the bear. I hope it works.
Yeah, let's speak about our star keeper that hasn't featured much this season, Mike Manyan. What are your thoughts, Shane? I mean, are you at a point whereby it's becoming a little too often to see another keeper other than our star keeper?
So, so when, so even through all of this injury, this current injury, so until before the World Cup, even during and let's say immediately after the World Cup, I wasn't too concerned, right? Because I was like, look, literally, okay, this guy has been very unlucky, and this is all it is, right? And I can write it off. What's made me very concerned is that the management now are looking at people like Cranio from Monza, I believe,
Yeah,
uh,
and Sportello.
Sport Sportiello, right?
Yeah,
Um, so that to me that means that the management have kind of said, listen, we accept the fact now that so rather than probably invest in a right wing, we acknowledge that it's probably more important to fill the goal. The only way that they're going to do that is if they have a concern about Mike in terms of his longevity or the fact that he's going to be out for a long time. So I am very concerned. And it is a shame because he's a quality player and the whole team suffers when he's not there. And I hope whatever the hell it is gets fixed because this is crazy. I mean, it's like you were saying. It's like he's been out. This is the second long injury now, right? Fair enough. The first one I think was a broken wrist, which look that's just unfortunate. These happen, but like a calf injury for a keeper, it's like what the hell are they doing to these players? What are the like? What is the Milan medical team doing to these players? Because I mean, a goalie being out this long with a calf injury, and then you're saying that he's coming back in early January and he's going to be back, and now you're saying, oh, it probably won't be till February. How? Where? Like, who's paying these guys?
Yeah, I'll give you the answer now. They're doing nothing because that's been the medical team's approach to all injuries. Yeah? And I've said
Mm.
it before, and I'm not afraid to slate this medical team of the physios. They all have fake degrees because if they had any form of education, they'll probably know what to do. It seems to be making the thing worse. And Mike, other than his ability of just being on the pitch, I think it's also that leadership that he brings to the back line, the confidence that he gives to players like Tomori, which is plays differently, knowing that there's a solid keeper behind him. So the effects are many, and but I'm a little bit more advanced than you, Shane, because I'm at a point whereby if there is a big offer from PSG, I know it's harsh, but I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't mind it too much if he's sold because we need someone reliable. And the thing about having a keeper and a keeper as good as Mike, because he's a recent purchase. He's not been he's a recent signing. He's not been with the team for that long. And if you count the number of games, it, not as impressive as some of our other keepers as well. Uh, it's not that difficult to find a good keeper. This is my opinion. Yeah, he's great and all that, but if you have a good keeper, or as some people like to say, good enough keeper, that'll be enough for silverware. Mike is above that level. I think he's Champions League level, but these injuries, especially when we need him, uh, is is disappointing. Disappointing. Okay, so do we have any further injuries? And no, we have a bit of a bright spark to speak about. So this is our youth talent. His name is Ka- Kamrada, Kamarda, if I can pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, so his name is Camarda, so Francesco Camarda. So
Yeah.
I mean, did he like he's getting these numbers are like you know when you first start playing FIFA, right, and you're really junk at it, right,
On which
and then you
setting? On
start
which setting?
that's it, right, and then you start playing on like amateur, right, and then you're like hammering everyone like 10-0 and 12-0, right. And there's always like this one favorite player that you always use to just run past like 5 or 6 different players and then score, right? I mean, he's literally doing this in real life. I mean, he's 14 years old, right? And he's got an average of 5.5 goals a game, right? Now, keep in mind, there's a caveat to this, right? Because an awful lot of these would have been 5v5 and 7v7 because that's the way they do it in the lower ages. But like, I mean, but here's where it gets extra exciting. So he scored 2 goals in his first game for the Primavera. So for the under 19s, he scored 2 goals. So and I think they were playing. I don't even think it was a competitive match, if I recall. But it was but still, like, I mean, if you're a 14-year-old, right, and you've been called up to the under 19 squad, right, and you've scored 2 goals, and you're averaging 5 goals, I mean, you're obviously like a class ahead of everyone else at the under whatever 15, 16, 17s. So I mean, bring this kid on, man. Let's wait another 4 years. Let's see what's going on. But it's got to be something with this kid. I mean, it's not just a Mastor where, remember Hakeem Mastor? It was like he was great
Yeah.
watching him, but then he was like, if anytime you used to watch him, it was never actually playing football. It was more just like, doing tricks with the ball. Well, like if this kid is scoring this amount, like this has this amount of goal like input, this kid could be something special.
Yeah, so
I just want, yeah.
yeah, you're right about that, and we'll give the praises to Kid as well because he's probably started as well as you would dream of a player at that age. So the numbers of goals, and I've watched some highlights, and I think he also scored the winning goal for his age group. I think that was the under 15s. It was the
Mm.
header. I remember the last game of the season for his age
That's
group.
the thing, and he scores. He doesn't just score like tap-ins.
Hmm.
You know
Yeah,
what I mean? I've
quality
been
goals.
looking at him like he scores every type of goal you can think of. And like this, I don't care what age you are, unless you're a cut above everyone else, you don't get those numbers. So
Yeah, but the
he's
focus should be now about what is the path for this kid because you can tell he's clearly talented. And the standard path of our Primavera players would be is that if they have a bit of uh, a little bit more of skill, and when I say that, meaning is that they are on the road to being part of the first team, is that they will usually go through their loan spells, from Primavera to loan spells. Then loan spells, I think they go to a Serie A team, just like we saw what happened to Pobega, and then gradually they end up on our first team. Then from the bench, then they move on to a starter level. For this kid, I think that process should be accelerated. But I'm going to throw a different spin to it because I do not think Serie B and below are the quality of stars. Yeah, I think a kid like this should be loaned to a top league, and I'm not saying a top league has to be a top five league, but he has to get some solid game time at a very competitive level. In my opinion, Serie B is not competitive nor is Serie C. It's more of like them having a spot and you just go and you could say you go play with the kids in the neighborhood. It's not really going to take you anywhere. But if you want to see amazing things, if you see him develop quickly, he has to be, do that trial by fire, walk over the burning charcoal. And the only way he can do that is outside of Italy, in my opinion. Uh, but well, we'll see because I'm also quite pleased that our Primavera, especially if we look at the youth league, the performances have been great. So we were top of the group. We beat some top academies, especially when we were in the same group with Chelsea as well and with Red Bull Salzburg. So they have talents in their youth teams, and we were able to comfortably beat them. So after the Primavera, maybe it should be that's where the loan spell should be uh, arranged. This is an area where I hope the management, and I'm looking at Maldini and Masara, they can get players to come, no doubt about it. But they should also be good in the other way, trying to get our players or loan spells in good teams as well. Because look at the players that we've carried over the years. We're still carrying Diaz from Real Madrid, who we speak a bit about later. Dalot, also on a dry loan from Manchester United. He started games for us. We don't do that to other teams. I don't know why, but I know Real Madrid probably wouldn't take any of our players and start them, especially on a dry loan. But we should be able to do it to another team in another league, maybe like Portugal, which has quite a few good teams in the league. Do you think that's fair, Shane? I mean, I hope we're not a stepping stone anymore.
well. I'd like to think so. I agree totally. I'd like to think I'd like to think a stepping stone is for for getting a young player like this to be loaned out. I think a good stepping stone is that his parent club is in the Champions League every year, right? So I think now we're kind of hopefully touch wood, we're getting back to the stage where we can confidently say, okay, well, yeah, so we're going to be in the Champions League for the next 2 or 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever. Hopefully, right? With that, then obviously you can start kind of, you can start maybe entering into negotiations with kind of clubs that will be your feeder clubs. But I agree what you mean. There's no point in so as good as this kid is, there's always a danger of sending him off to a country like let's say we send him to let's send him to Brandby, up in, was it Norway? Where were Brandby from again? Was it Norway or Sweden or somewhere up there? Um, so it's like, oh, let's send him off to Brandby, so he can, freeze his ass off for a year. And, you know, but it's like then you kind of have to say, right, but what additional education is he getting that we can provide him with here? Or what level of competition, right? So, yeah, I agree with you totally, though. I mean, what's stopping this kid going to the likes of maybe, uh, you know, somewhere like Braga, you know, in in
Yeah.
Portugal, right? Somewhere, or somewhere that could literally show him how to play maybe potential different style of football. Because if this kid is, there must be something with this kid in terms of footballing intelligence. Because to be scoring it the way he is, he must have it, you know, must have it up there. So I mean, loan him out to all these clubs in different locations so he can kind of pull the best parts that he sees from each league potentially for the next 4 years. And then, he's come back as an 18-year-old. I mean, he could feasibly get. Now, I'm not saying he won't be a starter, right? Or he might even be on their B team, for goodness sake. Their B team. He's still getting the added exposure of. He's still getting the exposure of all these different leagues, and then he can take it back to us. And if he comes good, he can leverage that in the Champions League. I think that's what they should be doing with this kid. It just doesn't make sense to keep a player as good as this, just based in the Italian league. I mean, look, in the worst case, right? Let's just say, right? Okay, so unfortunately for this kid, it doesn't work out. Yeah. But surely, even at the age of 18, 19, if it doesn't work out, how much more marketable would he be to clubs around Europe if you could say, oh, yeah, so he spent a year in Portugal, he spent a year in Spain, he spent a year in France, England, wherever, it makes it more expensive to buy. So it just makes a no brainer, but I think he's just getting wasted at, under 15. Just loan him out, get him competitive, see how it goes for him. That'd be my thoughts on it.
Yeah, you're right. The marketability aspect is often overlooked, and if he wasn't in our team and we were looking at a player of that ability, yeah, that age, scoring those many goals, I mean, other clubs would easily ask like what, 50, 20, 30, 40, 50 million for him, yeah, just because he's a kid and has that. Can I say, Messi status at that age, the under 15s Messi label.
Or if you're Real Madrid, just say he's like 150 million.
Yeah. So we have that
You
player
know,
now with our squad. What are we going to do to develop him, and what are we going to do to keep him? And if you want to market him, yeah, he plays at other teams, as you mentioned. Yeah, even if it came to the point where we need to sell him, at least the value is worth your time, because currently, what is he costing now? I think like near nothing. He probably signed for like, I don't know, in the thousands as opposed to the millions. So yeah, we definitely have to find, there are options available, and the club has to be clever to fully utilize them. Okay. So yeah, our next person in question is the original Divock Origi, a player that I've seen live. He didn't show up for the meet and greet, but disappointed. Yeah, if there's a word that I could, disappointing. If there's a word that I can use to describe my feelings about Divock Origi, has been disappointing. On the positive note, he hasn't played the entire season, so we're judging him on a very short matter of months. So at any point he could come back and he could be a definite star. But Shane, can you say much positive about Origi? I know he's only had that one goal, and I think also an assist.
yeah. So the reason why I wanted to kind of include him in here is I think what Milan need to do now at this stage of the cycle, right, which is trying to build a team up for bigger and better things. Hopefully, hold on to our superstar players. Let's see how Leao and Benacer turn out. But if we're at that stage, I think Milan really need to look hard at this and learn a lesson from it. I mean, we got a 27-year-old who, at the age of 27, you should be at the peak of your fitness. You should be the best player that you can be. We got this player for free.
from Liverpool.
So yeah, so from Liverpool. So we got this player for free. He did, like, let's be honest. I know he did score a couple of important goals in big games. Credit to him. He'll always have that in his locker in his career. That's great. But you know, these teams they don't let players go for free unless there's a problem, and we're seeing these problems with him. So, look, I mean, this could. I'm the only reason I've added in Origi here is not to kind of jump on top of him and said, oh, where you always injured. If someone is carrying a very bad injury, until people figure out what's going on, look, we shouldn't comment on that. But what we can comment on is, we've had a guy for 6 months. If the stories are to be believed that Milan are trying to sell him, fair enough. We got him on a free, right? But my understanding is he's on what, 4 million,
Yeah.
or is it more? I think it's four.
No. I think it's around the same as Theo. I think four point
Four.
five. I think that's the level that
So
he's at.
let's say it's 4.5, right? So we've already paid his salary for 6 months, which is two and a quarter million, right?
Hmm.
Who is going to buy this player in January, knowing that he's been injured for the last year, pretty much? And Milan are going to now try and sell him. So that means that Milan see such a big problem here that they're trying to offload him. So who's going to pay over? Like, we're at this point, we're even at 27 years of age. I mean, are we what are we going to get from 5 million?
Yeah, you're right.
This is so like this
That's
is
if
a
he wants to go.
very
That's the other thing that you got to consider. That players also have to agree to want to go. And if Origi thinks that, yeah, I still want to take my chances with Milan, you're gonna have to carry this player. This is the sort of risk that you take with these players that are out on a free.
that's it. That's it. But I want to bring up Origi a bit later in one of the other slides.
Sure.
Because I think there might be some redemption, but it just depends on how Milan play this out.
Okay.
But yeah, not good news so far, and especially scary if they want to sell him come January, because that means they have serious reservations about the player's fitness. Mm.
Sure. Let's see, who do we have next? Oh, this has to be the facility that we so desperately need. Thanks to Shane for getting this photo
This
up on
is
the
it.
board. This is Milan
That's it.
GH, Milan General Hospital. There's probably enough
That's
episodes
it.
or enough stories coming out from this building to be like a 10 series run on Netflix from
That's
all the
it.
injuries that we have. But
That's it, man. That's
can we
it.
count the residents that are currently in the hospital? We've mentioned Origi, Zlatan. Who else do we have, Shane?
Who else do we have? So, isn't Kier still out? I'm
He
sure
didn't
he's out.
feature in the last games. I think they are, bringing him back slowly.
Right.
Again, he played one game during the World Cup. Then the second one he was benched. Um, I don't remember the last game he played. So he's not getting as much game time as he was before.
Yeah, because we also have Florenzi down. We've, I think, Calabria, which hopefully should be back soon. Moynihan is down, obviously. Yeah.
Zlatan still.
Latan is down. Isn't Giroud down now for a bit? I know, fair enough. I think that
Yeah, the
was,
knee thing, maybe, yeah. And
yeah,
Krunic and Macias, I read somewhere the reports of muscle fatigue. I don't know what the hell that is.
that's it. I always say when you hear stuff like that, man, and they're not playing, you have to look at how good looking their wife is to get a full picture of that story.
Yeah. And
That's
for
when you
me,
hear muscle fatigue,
I'm also counting some players that are on the fence usually that they can have injury happen in time. Rebic is another one of those players. Out of nowhere, he doesn't play and he gets injured. So it's happening a little too often. I hope if you guys have an opinion about this, please tell us in the comments or drop us a note what you think about Milan and our injury situation, if I can call it that.
But just why I wanted to mention Milan General Hospital, which is I just wanted to mention this because it kind of ties back to the last slide with Origi. Because you remember the Milan Labs project?
Yeah.
a couple of years ago, and it was hailed as one of the greatest things ever because it was reviving players' careers, like an aging Seedorf who used to get injured quite often, and Cafu. It enabled Cafu to extend his playing time. I mean, why aren't Redbird looking at doing something like that again? You know, if you're going to be investing in these players that are literally getting let go on a free at 27 years of age, you need a lab that's going to basically prolong their careers if there is any injury problems.
Well, knowing Berlusconi, I think the lab was only involved in two things: the manufacturing of painkillers, and the second is the manufacturing of Viagra.
True, but
Maybe
there
the thing that
was
really kept those players up was the bunga bunga parties. Nothing to do with
true,
Milan.
but there was an interesting one, and look, I don't know if this is true or not, but if it is an urban myth, it's a very popular one. So you know how they extended Seedorf's career. So apparently he used to have a problem with certain muscles around his groin area that he always used to end up pulling, and he was doing this. No, honestly, and it
I know.
happened like you know the one, and with the that they fixed it by like pulling his an impacted wisdom tooth. No, did you hear that?
No, I didn't hear
Yeah,
that.
and it was a famous one, and they said, and it's literally yeah. So they did all these new age kind of things like so, but basically, the long and short of it is because he was constantly coming up with these groin tears and muscle pulls and stuff all throughout his career, and then they got him into the the Milan labs, and what they did is they actually fixed it by pulling out his impacted wisdom teeth, and it fixed him.
So if that new age stuff works, I think we'll be seeing players with with almost no teeth in the squad.
That's it.
Maybe Mike needs to lose a few teeth.
That's it. But that's what I'm saying. But like, I mean, look, if they're gonna look, if it's true, because if it is just an internet myth, it is a popular one. And it's quoted on a lot of places, right? But if it is true, you know, Redbird are gonna have to invest in something like this because I mean, you can always be smarter than other teams because other teams aren't going to be looking at things like this to prolong players' careers. But if Milan can, and it's done them well in the past because they also used it on the likes of Cafu, you know, he also used it on the likes of Stem as well to keep him going. Nesta, it was good for. Maldini, it was good for. I mean, all these great players, their careers were prolonged. So, I mean, I'd seriously be looking at, when I found a picture of Milan General Hospital, right? I was kind of more like focusing on, yeah, look, it's just a bit funny, but let's go back to Milan Labs and the investment. Because if Berlusconi, right, Berlusconi, when he founded Milan Labs, right, like if Berlusconi could afford it then, there's nothing to say that Redbird couldn't afford it now, and he just throw it in alongside, where's it? San Sesto, sorry.
Yeah,
Where do we want to build a new stadium?
the Steelworks location. Yes.
Yeah, that place. Like so I mean, just fire it in there, and hopefully fingers crossed it all turns out well. But yeah, I think Redbird really need to be looking at something like that because especially if they want to start going down the route of this Origi thing, which is literally taking a punt on a player who's been injured quite a lot. He's now at his peak and he's injured again. So, you know,
Yeah,
we'll
you're
see
right.
how it goes.
We need to try new things because everything else that we've tried has not really worked.
That's it. Or else get Mike to the dentist quick. Needs his wisdom teeth out.
Have a dentist in the medical team. We haven't tried that yet.
That's it. No, you
Okay.
have Revich, but he just knocks teeth out. He doesn't actually.
He doesn't ask, he just does.
Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so we have Brahim Diaz next, and Diaz is long, you could say, long-term loan maybe. Yeah, what has he been with? If we count this season, he's been on loan for total 3 years maybe. So it's been quite a
Yeah.
while. Yeah, at the end of the season. What are your thoughts about Diaz, and what do you think he still has a place in our squad, especially considering that we got Adley now, who is permanently in the squad. We bought CDK, also in the squad. Krunic, who we renewed, and as long as Pioli is around, probably won't leave the team in any way. I mean, do you think Diaz can still find a spot for him? or should it be back to Madrid?
So here's the thing. I think more. So what I wanted to talk about regarding Diaz is, first, I'm not sold on. The only way that I thought Diaz should have remained at Milan is if Milan could have activated 22 million for a player that Man United were after for 50 million. And even if Real Madrid then bought him for 27 million, who cares? Because we get 5 million back, right?
Yeah.
That's the only way I was sold on activating Diaz's. Here's the thing, though. Judging by the Spanish newspapers, they're saying that there is no clause in the contract to buy, for Milan to buy Diaz at a cheaper price. So just, yeah, he's gone. There's no way. Like when we have, it's like, so we have CDK, we have potentially Adley. I know you don't like the idea, but potentially Rebic, if we need to add a push that can fill in, right? We can't be using this guy. He just has to go. He hasn't really shown anything, um, other than, in one in
Juve.
every 10 games. Yeah,
Yeah, you're
well,
right.
one in every 10 games. I mean, but what's the point? We don't need a 1 in 10 player. We need a 1 in 10 player if that's ratio of bad games or good games to bad games. But like this kid needs to go, especially if there's no clause. I mean, like he hasn't shown enough, and there's no reason. You know, he doesn't. He's not suited to Syria. He's not suited to the Champions League, from what we've seen for the most part. So if he's not suited to those things, unfortunately, they're like 90% of our games. So he needs to go, and I hope it works out well for him, because he doesn't seem to be a bad person in terms of his character. Right? He always does seem to. He enjoys putting on the shirt. The problem is that sometimes he doesn't show up enough. So I do hope it works out well for him. I'd like to see him maybe go to somewhere like Portugal, where there's a bit more space, it's a bit more open. I think the tempo would probably suit him a bit more, and I hope he really makes a good career there. Just don't score against us in the Champions League, Diaz, please. But yeah, for me, man, we can't. I mean, even activating him at 27 million, at 22 million, unless we had someone that would come and purchase him right away, which probably the argument would become irrelevant then, because if we bought him for 22, and if you had Man United that wanted to put in a bigger bid, like, Real would just literally turn around and say, "Oh, we'll activate our 27 million, and then we'll just pocket the rest." So it's just this ever cascading inflation of a player's true value. But I don't think he's nowhere near a 22 million player. I don't think he ever will be. But yeah, I'm sorry, Diaz, but you got to go, man. And even more so that the clause in the loan contract, which every Milan fan thought was there for the last 3 years, which was, oh, buy him for 22, is not there. So what do you think?
Yeah, completely agree with you. What I really don't like about Diaz, and it's not his fault, is that idea or how the club was operating at that time. I mentioned it a bit before that I don't like us being treated like an academy for other teams. So we've given Diaz quite a bit. Yeah, we've given the number 10 shirt, which is a shirt number that should have been retired, I think, uh, based on the grades that we've had in the team. We've started him in games, even though we've had players that are younger and also had high potential. So I don't think it's the right move to try to make a move for Diaz, because let's face it, yeah, we're coming out against Real Madrid and they're not going to give us any charity because they simply don't have to. And if they're gonna ask for a high fee or anything just for Diaz, it's definitely not gonna be worth it. You mentioned some of the points that I completely agree with. Serie A is not the league for Brahim Diaz. He needs to be in Spain, and I've seen how they play in Spain with their their possession base, their tiki taka, or their quick passes, one touch passes. That's the sort of playing field that Diaz is, would excel in. Not in Milan, where we need someone, especially in the upfront, to hold up play. There isn't really that much space between the lines, and you've got these very tall defenders that, especially with crap referees, that won't even give you a free kick. So
He's-
it's just not going
I
to work
don't
out
think
for.
he has good vision either, man. I think that's his problem. He just doesn't have good vision.
Well, at his height, it'd be
You
difficult to
know,
get much vision above the
it's
above the
either that now. But
125
last time I
centimeter.
said that, it was about Tata, and he was like legally blind nearly. So I can't joke about someone's vision again.
Yeah, but you're right. Completely agree with you about Diaz. Okay, so now we're down to the photos from my trip, and yeah, the Shane, I'll tell the guys a little bit about it. So yeah, it was, well, it felt such a long time ago, but it was the weekend before last. I went to Dubai for the Super Cup. I went for the Liverpool game. Painful in terms of the result, but it was amazing just to see Maldini and his pictures up on screen and Masara in live. So as well with the other players, you see all these players on TV and on YouTube, and you wonder that what would they be like in person, because how they interact with fans and they wave at you and everything is different. So it's definitely memorable. So yeah, there was a bit in the on our YouTube shorts about Maldini. He waved, and Masara as well. Amazing, yeah, if I can say that. And I would definitely recommend that experience to other fans if the club ever plays in your city or nearby where you are. Just hop on a bus ride, car drive down, take a flight. It's definitely worth it. So I also got to meet.
Please come to Nairobi, Milan.
Maybe they would, and I think Africa is a place that if it's not to meet the fans, at least do some good scouting, because we've had good African players before. George Weah, hint hint,
Mm.
yeah. So why not? The meet and greet was happened the day after the Liverpool game. Yeah, I got to take a picture. You see here with CDK and Salmakers with the trophy, and this is part of the trophy tour. CDK, by the way, he's very polite in person. He speaks very well, smiling at the fans. I think he's generally happy to be in Milan and around the fans. But from what I've seen of the him in Club Brugge, I think pronounce it Club Bruges or Brugge, uh, he enjoys being adored by the fans. So I think comes naturally to him. Makers, he didn't look at all happy to be there. I think he had a deal with Pioli is that if he scored against Liverpool, he wouldn't need to do this meet and greet crap. But
He's
apparently,
probably
someone
seen
in
you roasting him online, hasn't he? He knows, man. He knows at this point.
yeah. So they sent these guys, and they should have sent Krulish, the appeasement squad, to calm down my temper. Diaz, I didn't get a chance to take a picture with him because he came late, and yeah, the queue was insane. But yeah, it was great, man. All I can say is that I'm looking forward to going to Riyadh next month for the Super Copa, and hopefully there's a meet and greet. I'll take another bunch of photos there. All right, and there's a
Impressive.
picture
So
of Maldini.
who's the nicest player you met? So you reckon it was probably CDK?
Yeah, it's CDK.
Hmm.
Sam Makers, I don't
Bit
think
of a
he
jerk.
wanted to be there. And yeah,
Yeah.
some good gear that was on sale.
Well, that
So,
makes Milan fans and Salamakers, because no Milan fan wants Salamakers to be there either, right? So it's kind of
but I'm thinking about it positively. Is that Sam Makers? There was a time, and I remember it because it wasn't that long ago. He was good for us. Yeah, do you remember that long run after COVID? That there was this stat that if Sam Makers
before
started
he
again,
signed that contract, he
extension.
was
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
It was the extension, sorry, yeah. And then next thing after that, man, I don't know. I don't know what the hell has gone on with him. It's a strange one. It's a strange one. Yeah. I hope he makes me eat my words though, because I mean, look, at the end of the day, if he comes good, but it seems to be that he's kind of regressing. And it's not like even you couldn't even say it like it's with CDK, you can kind of see him regressing in terms of the things that he's not trying because he's losing confidence. But
Hmm.
with Salamakers, it's kind of like he's just doing the same things he always has done, but they're no longer working and he's not trying anything else.
Yeah, but
It's
that could
weird.
be the limits of his abilities that we're seeing now. Well, keep in mind as well is that Samakas he didn't start off on the right wing. He actually started off as a right back, if I understand correctly.
Right wing back, yeah. So
Yeah,
he's kind of that weird area. Yeah, yeah. That's
and
true.
even last season we remember at the beginning of last season we started Florenzi on the right wing position. So I don't know. Is it the player? Is it the methods, the tactics that is not working for him? Maybe.
mm,
But all I can say is that if he
mm,
scores those goals in Champions League and that game against Liverpool, where you got to admit that was a good goal, yeah. So he took it onto the left foot and
mm,
found that angle past the keeper. That was quality.
mm,
If he can do that,
mm.
why not? I wouldn't say that he's a solution for our right wing, but being able to do that and he's able to do that on a consistent basis makes us less worried because then we a lot more balanced.
True, true, and it gives more legitimacy to the Milan scouting project anytime that a player works out,
Yeah,
right? So that's always good. So that in turn just makes any scouted players, that we make a bid on before, you know, uh, clubs like Newcastle or Leeds, that just gives us more legitimacy because the player kind of says, well, all these players have gone and they've done really well, so let me go. Yeah, I agree totally, man. I hope it does, but at the end of the day, though, it's kind of how long do you need to wait? Because we could easily just run into another situation where Salamakers doesn't want to, you know, sign a new contract, and then we're kind of going, well, we could have got 30 million for this kid. It's a player that we
at least
didn't even
something.
really like anyway.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
the point. Is that I mean, whether to make a bucket loads of money, maybe that's a bit of wishful thinking. But at least let's recover our investment because we've paid salary for this kid. We've believed in him and all that. So let's get something, a little bit, something back, something more than what he's given to the club during in his time there. But yeah, looking forward to better performances from him. So Shane, yeah, it's coming to the end of our little roundup. Prior, can I say this is our last stream of the year? So, what do you like to say to
yeah.
our fellow listeners
It's up
and
to
Milan
you.
fans?
It's up to you, man. But no, I think it's definitely it's always a pleasure. And as you know very well, for due to visa problems, I'm stuck in Nairobi now a bit longer than I thought I would be. So I have plenty of time on my hands. Trust me.
Okay.
But no, we can definitely. It's at a time that suits you, of course. But yeah, well up for doing a new one. But
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Well,
man.
if the game on the 30th, if it's available online, maybe we could do a watch along. That would be something.
Bingo.
Yeah,
Good one.
we haven't
I
done that
forgot
yet.
about that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's try that, man. So we're gonna see you on the 30th, guys, and enjoy the shenanigans, of which there will be many, because
Definitely.
we haven't tried this before. So let's see.
Yeah, so you guys are not rid of us yet, but I want
Just
to take this.
remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I want to take this opportunity to thank the whoever's listening now, who's listened to our previous videos. I mean, thanks so much. And for those who follow us on our social media, Twitter, Instagram, Apple Podcast, Spotify, it's great. Yeah, we appreciate all the support, all the clicks that we're getting, even though it's a work in progress of our videos, and we're looking to bring you more great content as we
that's it.
go on
I haven't
into
even got
next
a
week.
working camera or good internet yet. So yeah, wait till those come. And yeah, no, but yeah, seriously, thanks everyone. I know we kind of started this up relatively late into the year. We're looking to expand this out and do even greater and greater things next year. Thanks for your time, your support. We really appreciate it. And here's hoping 2023 is definitely the year of Milan. So yeah, big step for me is going to be Spurs, but we'll talk about that when that time comes.
Yeah, that'll be a bit later, but let's focus on winning, hopefully, the PSV game and then Salernitana, and then it should be smooth sailing, especially Zlatan
Mm,
coming back. So, yeah, fingers crossed on that one. Okay, well,
that's
thanks
it,
everyone
man.
for listening, and yeah, it's been great to have you having you, Shade, and to you as well, to your family, everyone else listening. Belated Merry Christmas to those celebrating, and a Happy New Year. Be safe, everyone. It's flu season. I think I've been down with flu last week, and yes, till next time. Forza Milan.
Forza Milan.
See ya.
Italia è finale!